Hello, this is Shale Ridge Farms. This is our pepper bed. We have our banana peppers, our jalapeno peppers. I think we have Grande, Brown, and Anaheim. As you can see, these plants are loaded down. We are trying to get, I think we're going to be able to eke out a batch or two of cowboy candy this year. So we're letting them fully develop, get ready, and we'll pick them. We have our banana peppers are actually aging to the point where they're turning orange. So I'm not sure if those are the hotter ones or the...
They'll have a little bit more spice. Same thing with our brown jalapenos. There's actually one which we'll show you shortly that is actually bright red. Same thing with our Anaheim peppers. They transition from a green to a red and they're going to get a little bit more bite to them.
Here's a good shot of one of our brown jalapenos. It took them probably 3 months to actually turn brown. We've only got, I'd say we have 2 or 3 that are brown right now. And then we have one that turned red. Here is our brown red jalapeno.
Learn.
Yeah, here is our tomatoes. They have taken quite a beating in the last couple months. We had probably 2 or 3 major windstorms, and they just beat them up pretty bad. We did learn the one weakness of this trellis, and it's not really a weakness, it's just a lessons learned, is you want to definitely pick up some 8-pound or greater test line. These tomatoes got really heavy and they ended up snapping the twine just naturally. Add in a windstorm, they didn't stand a chance. So a lot of these have busted, fell over, broke, and we've just had to pick them up, and they're recovering pretty well, but it's definitely taken a toll on them, and they're not as peppy as they used to be. We've also had some significant hornworms invade, and we've been going at it every other night with the black light and picking them off. Good thing they stand out like a sore thumb.
We've had a large fluctuation in our water from all the rain events we've had. So the black brandy wines that we have split a lot, whereas the aromas tend to held up a lot better to the rain events.
Yeah, as you can see, we have some serious growing pains on these tomatoes. We've had a whole week of rain, so they are definitely not handling it too well.
So this bed we have our standard zucchini as well as a butternut squash that was planted a lot later, so it's not been able to crawl up this trellis. And then on the opposite side of our trellis we have some spaghetti squash. As you can see, this trellis has actually held up very well to the weight of the squash. As expected, with it being a winter squash, it's taking them a long time to turn. So far we've been able to harvest one, and that was just today.
Do you think we're going to get any butternut squash this year?
Probably not. It's starting to flower, but with the zucchini, unless I take this front zucchini out, I don't know if they're really going to have a chance to get up that trellis and produce. This is our golden zucchini. As you can tell, we had to remove one of the plants. It got decimated by the squash bug, so it just would not recover. Other than that, everything else is growing out of the bed and taking over the entire aisle. In the background is what we've talked about before. It's our spaghetti squash, and it's doing great crawling up the trellis.
So opposite the golden zucchinis, we have our eggplant, which is doing great, and our yard long beans. So we had a pretty bad, if you look at the eggplant, I'm not sure you can see that, but we have lots of pinholes Let's see if you can see those pinholes there. So those were caused by a small
Silver fly?
silver-winged fly. I did a mix of Dawn dish soap, a very little, and water and a little bit of alcohol. It did the job wonderfully. It killed all of the flies. The downside is it looks like when I did that, it just obliterated our yard long beans. What you see right now is actually the recovered yard long beans, and it's not very much. They were all the way up this trellis, and now we've only got small remnants left. All the beans shriveled up and died. All the leaves turned yellow out of nowhere. I have a sneaking suspicion that when I sprayed to kill for the flies, it did the job on the flies. The eggplant was hardy enough for it, but the beans did not like it. It was too much of a coincidence that at the same time I sprayed it, they all died, and then all the flies died at the same time.
I do think we're going to go ahead and replant these same beans next year, probably in a different location, because once they were producing, they did a phenomenal job and they were loaded.
So then in this bed we have our basil, what's left of the dill, and our cucumbers. The cucumbers have, as cucumbers do, been producing out of control. The basil was stunted earlier in the year. There was a bunch of caterpillars, mainly on the regular Italian basil and the cinnamon basil. The Thai basil, nothing seems to like it, so it has been relatively pest-free. The dill is growing like a weed. We have already used it for a number of recipes for canning. If you can see here, we are letting it go to seed, and we will collect these seeds for use next year and try to grow the same variant. The basil is out of control at this point. We're going to start drying it and turning it into a Italian seasoning for later use this year.
I'd also like to make some pesto and basil jelly. But if anyone has recommendations on what to use for a Thai sweet basil, I would love to know.
This is our upper in-ground garden. I made a video earlier in the year that showed me trying to get this ready in time. We got, I'd say, the watermelon, the cantaloupe, and the pumpkins in.
And honeydew.
And honeydew. But we did not get anything else in, mainly for the fact that it's too sandy. Even with me amending it with some very fine mulch, it's still very sandy. So I think next year what I'm going to do is bring in a couple tons of topsoil and cow manure and till the whole thing up and try to fix this soil. But we were not comfortable planting corn or wheat in this soil. We just did not think it was going to work out at all. But all of these are loving it. Our watermelons, our pumpkins, and our cantaloupe are doing phenomenal. These are our Big Mac pumpkins. They are living up to their name. This is our Sugar Baby variant of watermelon. It has just sprawled out everywhere. It's taken up probably, I don't know, it's probably a good 10 foot by 15 foot right now.
So this is our second variety of watermelon. These are Jubilee watermelons. So as you can tell, they're a lot different shapes than the previous. They're going to be long. Lastly, these are our crimson watermelon. As you've probably noticed with a lot of the previous watermelon, we have them all sitting on a bed of straw. This helps them get up off the ground so they're not susceptible to bottom rot.